balancing the car the whole time. Very, very tricky section of racetrack, and definitely separates the men from the boys through there.
It is great to watch through that section of the racetrack, and on board again with Graham. The car seems to be handling certainly pretty well. He's not a lot of steering input into that car.
Yeah, he doesn't have to be, he's not working on the wheel, he's not, as we say, sawing on the wheel, which is when you see the hands moving back and forth. He's pretty calm on it, and everything seems to be going pretty well in the cockpit now. It's just obviously unfortunate for him that he had that little bit of an off-track excursion. So Justin Wilson, although out in front, his lead is down to just over 11 seconds. Sebastian Bourdais lapping another lap into the 59s, while Justin is in the 61s. So the pace difference between them is quite big at this point of the race, and I wonder if maybe Justin's not so happy with the black sidewall Bridgestones.
Yeah, clearly something not going his way there, because in the early stages of the race, when most of the leaders were on the red sidewall tires, Justin was clearly quicker than everybody, and sure, Bourdais was clearly being held up by the cars in front of him, so they were, but otherwise Justin was much quicker than anybody else. Now that is not the case at all. As you said, 61.1 last time around for Justin. Across the line again this time, 61.3. So clearly, Justin Wilson is not running anything like the pace he was earlier on in this race. Let's have a look.
So yeah, we'll stay on board here through turn 4. Ooh, not quite. Okay, hopefully if we can get on board through some of these faster corners, 4, 5, and 6, we might be able to see if it's maybe a bit of an understeer he's picked up. So we're looking through here. Balance doesn't look too bad at first. He seems to be able to get to power relatively good. See here as he comes onto the back straight, very important here. Car doesn't seem to be stepping out. I mean, it's interesting. It's just sometimes, as we've seen with the difference between the red and black sidewall Bridgestones, obviously the red compound, the softer one, a little bit more grip, but also deteriorates a little faster. The black, of course, then being the harder compound, maybe a little bit slower in overall time, but will last a little bit longer, be a bit more consistent. We have seen some dramatic changes in the past from the balance of the race car in terms of the ratio of grip from the front tires to the rear tires. And so maybe Justin Wilson's just suffering a little bit from that, and his car happier on the reds.
Let's have a look at the gap here as Justin Wilson turns into the festival curves. We look back across the start-finish line. There goes Sebastian Bourdais down into turn 1. The gap now 9.5 seconds. That time around, Justin Wilson again in the 61.1 seconds. Sebastian Bourdais not quite as quick as he had been earlier on, 60.8, but still another 0.3 of a second clawed away at that gap by Sebastian Bourdais.
He is absolutely on it. I mean, it's at this rate, there's 59 minutes still remaining in this race. There's absolutely a possibility. Justin Wilson, he seemed, there's no way you could beat him. He seemed indestructible the first stint of this race, pulling out a 16-second gap in about 18 laps. Now he's getting that clawed away anywhere from half a second to a second and a half on any given lap. So the race is changing, and the tables seem to be turning in favor of Sebastian Bourdais, the 3-time defending series champion.
There is one lapped car between the first and second place cars. We watched Justin come through a great shot there as he comes into the festival curves, using almost all the track on the exit there. Goes down to second gear they're using now with the standing start they used just for first gear, and of course leaving the pit lane. But second gear through there, and through this section of the track they're generally in third or fourth gear. Down a gear here for turn 6. And now he'll be right-handed again here onto the second fastest part of the course. And again now that lap by Sebastian Bourdais, 59.628. He pulled out over a second and a half, as you said that time around, James. The gap is coming down inexorably. Just 7.8 seconds now between that man, the CDW R Sport car of Justin Wilson, and the hotly pursuing, or fast on his heels, Sebastian Bourdais. Paul Tracy pulls out of 9th place for his second stop of the day. Forsyth team will go to it. This will be a full tank of fuel this time. Last time, of course, he needed only about a half a tank of fuel. He came in after just 18 laps, and it's now on lap 44, so he's managed 26 laps since his last pit stop. 27 actually, lap 45 it was as he rejoins the race, and now he'll have to see whether he can rejoin ahead of the race leaders.
It's an understeer. It is an understeer, Jeremy. He does not have as much front grip in that car as he wants. So that means an understeer is when you turn the wheel, the nose of the car does not point as well as you'd like. You end up having to give it more steering lock. That creates more friction between the tire and the track, wears the tires out, and essentially makes the problem even worse. So Justin struggling. He definitely wants reds next time out. Still in the lead by 7 seconds.
All the matches with live scoring, a running feed for breaking news, and daily video highlights. Follow the French Open at Eurosport.com.
In the top three, then he was passed by Will Power, and then, no, he was passed at the start by Will Power, and then by Alex Tagliani, but he managed to eke out that first load of fuel 1 lap longer than anybody else, or any of the other drivers he was contesting with at that stage. He's leapfrogged them and joined that round of pit stops, and now the car is clearly handling very, very well indeed. The front two guys are on the harder black sidewall Bridgestone Potenza tyres, and at this stage, there's no doubt that Bourdais' car is working a lot better than Justin Wilson's. But we got two more pit stops to come in this race. The first pit stop was on lap 27 or 8 for most of the drivers. I think Justin Wilson came in on lap 27. Sebastian managed to do 29. So we'll be expecting their second pit stop of the day in about another 7 or 8 laps probably.
Yeah, and he's now caught the lap car of Alex Figge. This is definitely going to hold him up a little bit, but he'll be able to get by him down this front straight into the festival curves. But you can see how close he was into that corner. Lost a bit on the exit just because, you can see him. He's throwing his hands in the air. He knows this is a very crucial time of the race. There wasn't much Alex could do, to be honest, at that part of the racetrack where Sebastian caught him. Just kind of unfortunate timing. Maybe a little bit of an overreaction there from Sebastian, but it's not necessarily totally unexpected. Justin Wilson has radioed to his crew saying he wants red tires back on his car for the next one. Much happier with the balance on the reds. Sebastian Bourdais has radioed saying he's got a bit of an oversteer. So they have opposite problems right now, but obviously Sebastian's slightly less costly in terms of lap time.
I think it was Ryan Daly who was getting his way past. They got a little bit frustrated with Ryan. Ryan's doing now in 15th place, showing 1 lap down along with Paul Tracy and Alex Figge. And he talked about the balance of the cars on the red sidewall tyres and the black sidewall tyres, and different teams have, when they bolt on the different tyres, they have different ways the cars react to them. Most of the teams that I've talked to, when they put on the softer tyres, the car goes for a little bit more of an oversteer. The rear end of the car wants to step out a little bit, and you want to make sure you don't chew up those rear tyres on these cars. So it's a very interesting challenge for the engineers. How do they set that car up?
It's very, very difficult, and that's why the good engineers in the Champ Car World Series are very high in demand and make very decent salaries. But I just want to touch on the fact that despite the fact Sebastian was outraged at how much he was held by, he still gained on Justin Wilson that lap.
It seems that way. Craig Hampson playing it perfectly. It seems like Sebastian's really closing in. Did you guys short film on the last stop?
Yeah, absolutely. We were kind of bottled up there in traffic, and then Tagliani got us, and we had to do something different. So the car was quick. We got it out front, and now we just see how it plays out. But we're going to be pitting in a lap here, so Justin will always be able to go farther than us on fuel.
Is he happy with how the car's performing right now?
Yeah, we're just going to add half a turn of front wing here.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Cameron Steele. There down in the Newman House Lanigan Racing pit with the race engineer for Sebastian Bourdais. That would be Craig Hampson, and Craig telling us that Sebastian will be coming in next time around. So cleaning earlier than normal pit stop for Sebastian Bourdais. So again, just to make sure in that first round of pit stops, the Newman House Lanigan Racing team allowed their driver to go 1 more lap than everybody else, and 2 laps more than several, including the race leader, before coming onto pit lane. That is an advantage, and clearly they didn't put a full tank of methanol fuel in at that first stop either. So again, save a little bit more time and make sure that Justin Wilson was able to get up there into second place and turn some quick laps. And now, when he comes in a little bit before some of the other guys, that advantage will work in his favour, because he's been able to turn a string of very quick laps here, and I'm sure make up enough an advantage so even though the other guys will gain some time on him by stopping later, it won't be enough to overcome the deficit that he has pulled out to them.
No, absolutely. That was a great call by Newman Haas Lanigan Racing for both their cars. I think got short filled to try and gain track position. Obviously, with Graham having a small off there, he wasn't quite able to capitalize the same way that Sebastian was. But they've played this strategy very well. With the gap is just down to 4 seconds now. So it looks like Sebastian will be pitting this lap, I think. And Graham Rahal, we've seen now his crew setting up in pit lane as well.
And there's Ryan DeYell also onto pit lane for the Pacific Coast Motorsports team, which this weekend announced a new junior program. They have teaming up with the US Racetronics organization that runs 2 cars in the Atlantic Series. So good for the PCM team. Here is Graham Rahal, and we believe Cameron Steele is down in the pit lane. So the second scheduled stop of the day
once you get stopped, your
for Graham Rahal.
4 wheels under the line when you exit the pits. Do not shortcut the chicane.
It's race engineer Todd Malloy there on the radio to Graham Rahal. Bit of trouble they're getting that wheel nut.
And you can hear
Hold it. No.
on the radio. They're giving them a full fill. And Sebastian Bourdais will be coming in next.
Cleared track. Good outlap.
There you have more from John Tzanikis. He is one of the team members that has been with Newman Haas Lanigan the entire time when the talk about a wing adjustment. There you have it right there. Put some wing in. There you go. Phil. It's 2 successful pits for that team.
But he's going to come out here behind Tristan Gomondi and Alex Tagliani, and he knows Alex Tagliani isn't going to let him go past terribly easy. So this could be crucial now. Here is Justin Wilson. He's going to do at least another lap or 2 before he's coming in. We're expecting Justin Wilson in. Is he going to come in this time around? No, he is not.
No. But no, that was crucial that Sebastian Bourdais did come out behind 2 cars that are going to be slower than him.
Pit this lap.
There you go, Justin Wilson giving the order to pit this lap. He will be coming in, and this will be important. Sebastian Bourdais will not be able to get as quick an outlap as he wanted, being stuck up behind Alex Tagliani and Tristan Gomondi. But unlike the case with Ryan Dial, who he caught, these guys are for position. They've got no need to let him by. And like you said, you can be darn sure that Alex is not going to make it easy at all.
No favours, I believe, there for Alex Tagliani. But there is Justin Wilson. CDW car is led virtually all the way this afternoon. And Bill Stevens is in the pit stall for the R Sport organisation. The CDW car there is beautiful. Red and white car. Justin Wilson's been foot perfect this afternoon. Hasn't been as quick as Sebastian Bourdais. There is a second of the R Sports cars. That is Alex Tagliani onto pit lane. Amazing that through that second stint then, Bourdais was able to put the length of a whole pit stop effectively between himself and Bourdais, because prior to that first round of pit stops, Tagliani been ahead of Bourdais. But here now is Justin Wilson onto pit lane.
Bruno's in his pit, just be aware of that.
50 miles an hour. It's Phil Howard on the radio.
Race leader Justin Wilson into the pits. They are putting the red Bridgestones back onto the automobile. These fuel cells, 32 gallons, 3 less than what they're normally used to. They were expecting these fuel fills to take a little bit shorter time, but he still has a good pit stop.
He does have a very good pit stop there. Thank you, Bill Stevens. And there goes Justin Wilson.
I've never heard of a champ car being referred to as an automobile before. That sounds terribly tame. As Justin comes out behind, it looks like Neil Johnny's come out behind there, the Red Bull PKV car, and it's going to be important. I guess Neil still has a stop to make. It's going to be important that he doesn't get held up too much. This is a crucial part of the race, but now Justin back on the tires that he wants. He's got to get up to speed quickly and got to start laying those laps down.
Yeah, I didn't see where he came out in relation to Sebastian Bourdais, so we'll have to wait to get a visual on that next time around. But here is just, of course, cold tyres, no tyre warmers in the Champ Car World Series, but he is on the softer of the 2 Bridgestone Potenza tyres, the red sidewall tyres, and now he's got to get his head down, make sure he doesn't make any mistakes. It's very easy to do. 750 horsepower and cold tyres. These cars are a challenge to drive.
I think we're on board with Justin now as we head through turn 10, 11. I believe that Sebastian Bourdais is right behind him. There it is. There is the gap down to less than a second. Everything is getting interesting here at the Portland International Raceway.
Look at this, Sebastian Bourdais looks to the inside under braking for the festival curves, and he takes away the lead. Well, actually not the lead of the race. Can Justin now? Bit of a mistake there from Sebastian Bourdais. but he holds off Justin Wilson. And boy, that could well be the critical part of this race. Will Power is not actually yet for the lead of the race, because Will Power and Robert Dornbos have yet to make their second pit stops of the afternoon, but that, I believe, is likely to be the turning point in this race. And that whole first stint of the race, Justin Wilson pulled out over 18 seconds over the rest of the field, but that and more now has been overturned by the man, Sebastian Bourdais.
Justin clearly just did not get quite a quick enough out lap, as we see Oriol Servia completing his second scheduled pit stop, and was just able to capitalize on slightly colder tires from Justin Wilson. That one lap later pit stop that he did, Sebastian having one lap more heat in his tires, as we see Robert Dornbos coming in for his pit stop now, and just able to get by. Crucial